Welcome back to my channel. I am here with another life story. This story is going to be my lupus story. How I found out I had lupus, events leading up to my diagnosis. So I'm here to tell my lupus story. So back when I was 18 years old, if you saw my previous life story, I told the story of how I found my mother passed away when I was 18 years old. So this all started after my mother passed away. I was living with my auntie, and all these, up to 18 years old, I was fine. I didn't really have, any problems or anything like that. I knew I had like sickle cell trait, but I wasn't like sick or anything like that. So, after I turned 18, after I buried my mother and everything, I was living with my auntie. And one day I went to scratch my back and there was a tick in my back. So I know that, ticks are involved with Lyme disease. So, I panicked. I was like, oh my goodness, I have this tick stuck in my back, and I know getting bit by a tick, you can, get Lyme disease from that. So as the weeks went on, I noticed that I started to get sick. It started with fevers. I had pain in all of my bones. I mean, every bone in my body hurted. I had hives that would come up on my skin, but they would go away. Like, they may pop up for that day, but then the hives would, disappear. Also, along my hairline, it all turned white. Like, as you can see, I'm a black woman. But along my hairline, it all turned white, going all across my hairline. And my siblings used to joke at me and say, I was really a white girl, tread my, true colors, that my whiteness was coming out, because I wasn't like the rest of my siblings. My siblings were bad thugs and doing stuff they were not supposed to be doing, but that wasn't me. I always lived my life the right way. Like I said, I'm not going to jail over nothing petty. I'm not going to jail for stealing something, or if I'm going to jail, it's because somebody tried to harm my children or tried to harm me. I'm not going to jail over anything petty. And I'm gonna tell you now, all of my siblings has been to jail. Everybody's been to jail but me, and I ain't going, and I'm 43 years old. So if I end up in jail, that's because, somebody tried to bring harm to me and my children. I'm not going to jail over anything petty. So, they used to joke at me, oh, you're really a white girl, you showing your true colors, whatever. So I started getting these fevers, and these fevers was coming every day. And then I noticed that when it came time to move my body, I mean, every bone in my body hurt. If you can imagine, every bone hurting, every inch bone hurted in my body. So my auntie was like, okay, well, let me take you to the emergency room. Let's go to the emergency room. So I'm 18 at the time, and I go to the emergency room, and the only thing that they said was I had an infection in my body. Okay. So, that was the excuse they gave. They said I had an infection in my body, and, that was that. I can't recall if, I was given medicine or anything like that. That was so long ago, I don't even, remember. So as time went on, my knees would hurt. I would go to I kept going to a primary care physician, and they said I have arthritis. Who has arthritis at 19 years old? They gave me every other excuse in the book as to why certain things were going on. So they said I had arthritis. Then I noticed my lymph nodes started swelling up under my arm. I would have huge lumps under my arm, and I would be in so much pain to where I couldn't even lift my arm to comb my hair. So this is what I dealt with for years. I was just in pain for years. So when I turned, I want to say, was I 25? Either 25 or 26, I got pregnant with my first baby. Pregnancy was fine. The only thing that happens to me during pregnancy was I don't like sweets. So I always lose a lot of weight, during my pregnancy. So I had my baby, and a couple of months after having my baby, I would say maybe like 3 months or so, my body started going crazy. I was having fevers. I was having night sweats. I had angioedema, is what it was called. My eyes would swell up, my lips, my tongue. It looked like I was being abused and beat up. And of course, all this time, I'm still going to work. And everybody looking at me like, something going on at home. Let us know if you being abused. And I'm like, no, because I'm sitting at work with these swollen black eyes, and I could be at work and my lip can be normal, and later on that day, it was swelled up. So people were seeing that my body was, swelling up on its own. I also had these lumps under my skin. I had rashes. I was breaking out in hives. So then it came to a point where I was going to my primary care physician, and she was an older lady. I mean, like a real older lady. And, the first thing she wanted to do was test for the H word, the 3-letter H word. She was testing me for everything. And at first she was saying, oh, I don't know what's wrong with you. So it became, I had to go into her office every day. So mind you, from the time I was 18 to 26, I had symptoms. Serious symptoms, but I was always giving excuses. So it came to a point where every day I was in this lady's doctor's office. Every day. So she would do some tests and be like, come back tomorrow. I had an appointment every day. It was serious. So she calls me one night and she's like, now, if a doctor ever calls you at night, it ain't good. So she calls me one night and she's like, mind you, I'm taking care of a little baby at this time. I'm still going to work, still dealing with all these whole illness issues where I felt like my body was just going down. So she calls me and she says, I need you to come into my office tomorrow. It's an emergency. And she was like, tomorrow morning, I need you to come into my office. Okay, boom. So the next day, I go into her office. Give me 1 second. I need a drink here. Make sure you all are drinking your H2O, and it is hot outside. So I go into the office, and she had me sitting there. I was so pissed because, number one, I was in pain. I was, of course, stressed out and worried, like, why did this lady need me to rush into her office? Like, what is the problem? I already knew that I was sick, so I was already dealing with the stress of that. So she had me sitting there for hours, just sitting there chilling. And to me, it was like she was seeing every other patient before she got to me. I'm just sitting there. So I'm pissed at the fact that I'm just sitting there. So when they finally call me to the back and I go into her office, she's like, I need to put you in the hospital. Bitch, what? You need to put who in the hospital? I never been in the hospital prior to this, only when I went into the hospital to have the baby. So I was like freaking out. I can't go into the hospital. I just had a baby. It's nobody to keep my child. Then she was like, well, I can call CPS. You can call who? Come again? So she was like, what? She was like, I need you to go straight to the hospital. It's an emergency and I need you to be checked into the hospital. So, okay, what's the problem? She was like, your blood level is dangerously low. Your blood has dropped to very low and you need to go into the hospital. So, of course, I'm panicking. I'm freaking out. I have my baby who is a couple of months old. What am I going to do? So, thank goodness my brother I did have a brother. One of my brothers, they did live with me. He had a girlfriend at the time. He volunteered to, keep the baby. And his girlfriend, she was pregnant at the time. So both of them stayed at my house, to take care of the baby. So I go into the hospital, of course, and I had to get a blood transfusion. Of course, they make you sign this paper that if you catch any, illnesses or whatever, they tell you they test the blood. But if you catch any illnesses or anything, it's not on them. So I'm freaking out. I'm scared about that. Plus, you don't know who blood is going in your body. But I knew that I felt real bad. I knew that I was really, really sick. So I went ahead and agreed to the blood transfusion. So I did the blood transfusion. I actually had to do like 3 or 4. So I'm laying in the hospital bed looking up at this damn bag of blood going into my veins and praying to God that, nothing comes out of it, because, and I guess they put different people's bloods, as long as it's the same as your blood type. I also had to get iron transfusions, which I did have a reaction to that. And as I'm in the hospital, I am getting sicker. So finally, a doctor comes in, and he was a rheumatologist, and he was like, I came in to let you know that you have lupus. I got what? I don't know what that is. But let me backtrack before that. Before I was told I actually had lupus, one day I went to my father's house, and my father had sarcoidosis, which is also an autoimmune disease. And I remember I was laying on his couch, and my whole body hurted. And he was like, oh, all you need is some prednisone. Just tell him to give you some prednisone. What you mean? He was like, yeah, I went through that when I was like 20-some years old. I went through all the body pains and everything like that. And I have sarcoidosis. I have bad, his affects his lungs. And I'm like, well, when the hell was you going to tell me? You never told me any of this. And all this time I'm going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to the doctor. You could have said that this was something that was within our family history. So back to, I'm in the hospital, the doctor comes in and he says that you have lupus. I said, okay. Of course, I did not know what lupus is. I'm calling my friends and I'm like, oh, I got lupus. And they all trying to Google and read what it is and read the symptoms. And they reading the symptoms and they like, yes, she got this. Yes, she got that. Yeah, that's going on with her. Yes, she got that. So this whole time, I'm trying to learn about the whole lupus thing. So it had gotten so bad, and they were saying because I had a baby that it fully brought out the illness in my body. So even going to the bathroom, I had to help, the nurses had to help me. I could not bend my legs. I could not bend my knees. If I had to use the bathroom, I had to squat over the toilet. It was just too painful to even sit down and move. If I had to get up and walk somewhere, or if I had to do anything like that, it was painful. So I was in the hospital, I want to say for about a week. And then the rheumatologist, I was scheduled to go to my rheumatologist, which I started going to my rheumatologist. His name was Dr. Kalakis. He really, really helped me. Really, really helped me. Going to him when I went to my first visit to him, he was like, I just want to let you know that you are near death, but I could save you. That was his words to me. He was like, you're so bad off and you're near death. He said, but I could save you. I said, okay. So, of course, they try all these medications on you. So I think I was I was started on steroids, of course. I was put on methotrexate. And then I think I was put on another medication. But then besides all of the lupus symptoms that I was going through, my hair was falling out. I had to cut my hair off because it was coming out in clumps. I ended up getting shingles. I'm 26 years old and I got shingles. Shingles is known as the old person illness, but what it was, he said that they shut so lupus, if you don't know what it is an autoimmune disease, and it's where your own immune system attacks your body. So they put you on medication to shut down your immune system. So you can get any kind of illness, virus, whatever. You have no immune system to protect you because you're put on medicine to shut your immune system down because it's your immune system that's attacking your own body. So like I said, my hair fell out. I lost a lot of weight. And apparently my lupus was attacking my blood, my bones. By the grace of God, back then it was not attacking any organs. Because there is different types of lupus. So mine was affecting my bones, my blood, my skin. Those were like the main elements that I was having due to my lupus. So he's trying me on all this medicine, trying to get the right regimen. Now, mind you, at this time, I'm still taking care of my baby, still going to work, still sick. Sick as ever. As time went on, I started to feel better. I was taking so much steroids, and then I ended up on Plaquenil. Plaquenil was the last medication I was put on. I was also getting cortisone shots like in my chest because my chest bones was hurting. Everything was just hurting. Just to breathe, move, do anything was hurting. So I ended up on Plaquenil, and I was taking the Plaquenil, and I was starting to get a little better. He wanted to put me on, he started me on a medication, so I won't, because he said I was going to become crippled. Once I got older. So he was putting me on a medicine to try to stop me from becoming crippled when I got older, but I never did. Take that medicine. I was just like, whatever. So, in the end, I went through so many medications, and so many of these medications have side effects. So I ended up, the last medication was Plaquenil that I was taking. And I was on Plaquenil for years. So I did get better. He actually, shout out to him. He did actually heal me. I will always have lupus for the rest of my life. Lupus is nothing that you would never get rid of. And I will always have, lupus flares and things like that. But when you're on those certain strong medications, they can cause other problems as well. So that was how I found out I had lupus. It took me to get really, really, really sick, darn near, near death, before it was figured out, what the problem was. And like I said, these symptoms started from 18 till I had my first baby when I was 26, and my body went haywire. My body went crazy. So getting on a medication, which I knew, like I said, I would have to take for the rest of my life. Having my first baby, that was how I found out that I had lupus. So this was my lupus story. I am going to continue this series because after that event of finding out I have lupus, I had more health problems along the way, and I also had more children after that. So, after I was told, the hormones of you having your baby is what brought your illness out, my crazy tail still went and had more babies. So I will continue, and by the grace of God, I was blessed to even have children, because a lot of people that have lupus, they're not able to have children. So I thank God that that's something that I was blessed with. And that first baby, who darn near killed me, will be 17 in a couple of months, and he's kicking. My only worry is, because this was something that was passed to me from my father, I'm afraid that I'm going to pass it to my children. The one that will be 17, when he was around 12, he had to be hospitalized, and he was showing symptoms of the same thing that I went through. The doctor did let me know that I did pass an illness on to him through blood. He hasn't had any problems since then. That was back when he was 12. He went through the whole angioedema thing. He swelled up, eyes swelled up. He broke out in hives and everything all over his body. And I'm in the hospital cussing people out, and I'm telling them to test them for lupus, because my body went through the same thing. They tried to tell me that the child had strep throat. And I said, I don't know no child who body reacts like that from strep throat. So once again, how I said in my previous videos, you have to be an advocate when it comes to your health, because these people will sit here and they will tell you every kind of thing and every kind of excuse, and also will just brush you off. You'll go on in and say this is bothering you, and well, maybe it's just this, and maybe it's just this, and maybe it's just this. So always, be an advocate for yourself. Because now, if my father had told me early on that, he went through the same thing, then that would have been something that, I could have, let the doctor know, hey, my father has this, can you, test me for this? And what it is, like I said, he has sarcoidosis. Lupus is the sister illness to sarcoidosis. And I also found out that, I have a half brother on my father's side who also has lupus. He has it bad. He's been on life support and everything like that. I never met him or anything, but he's still in the family, so we still hear about him and everything like that. But he has it, he has it, bad. So like I said, I'm just praying that it doesn't affect my children, as they grow older, because I read that it comes out in your teenage years. You might not, some people do have symptoms early on, but I read that, it comes out in your teenage years. And I don't know if it was the stress of my mother passing, that started to bring them symptoms out in the early days. Because like I said, I did not have a problem until after I turned 18. So I didn't have any symptoms. I wasn't hurting. I didn't have any issues. It was after I turned 18. It was after I buried my mother, that all of these symptoms and everything started going out. And like I said, it took doctors from the time I was 18 years old to 26 years old to actually figure out what was wrong with me. So like I said, these stories will be continued, because it was a lot more that happened, after this diagnosis. So hopefully this story helps somebody. If you would like, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Hit the like button for me. Go ahead and share my videos. I'm doing these life stories because, like I said, everybody goes through something in life. And, this is the way life is at times. So thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank everyone who has subscribed to my channel. Thank you all for listening to my stories. And there will be more life stories to come. You all have a good one.